Efficiency Experts YouTube.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my humble abode for the 5th episode of the Efficiency Experts Roundtable podcast. My name is Gunnar. You may know me as Dragon Seance, and today marks a return to our regular series of weekly update discussions. First, we want to say a quick thanks to those of you who watched or listened and gave feedback on our last podcast regarding untradables, either in the comments or on Discord. We appreciated hearing your views, and we look forward to having more lively discussions in the future and representing a wide variety of opinions on our panel. Today, we are going to be covering the Easter event, the Runescape documentary, as well as updates to the Buff Bar and the NXT client. With that, let's hear from the panelists.
This fucking guy.
Oh my god.
Alex!
I thought we were skipping the intro.
Start again.
No, we can do it. Oh my god.
No, I thought we were just skipping the intro.
We can totally keep what I recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
Gunnar
can.
did very
Alright,
good with the
Alex,
script.
I'm gonna give you a 5 count and then you go. 5.
Hello, I'm Alex, Arson Evo.
Andrew, RSN determined.
My name is Jordan, go by Wrathful.
And I'm Shane, also known as Darkscape, and it's good to be back, boys. Shout outs to the fans.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
The triumphant return.
Oh, something like that. It's good we could sort out our differences, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
All still friends.
Yeah.
Shane, as the guest of honor, you want to take us through the Easter event?
Oh, absolutely. Well, this little action-packed law galore Easter event was quite fun, I reckon. It was a little fun and it was quick. There's some nice little jokes, and it was interesting how they sort of explored the law and like the history of some of the more unique species, like the Ents. What do you reckon of it?
I like that it was short.
Yeah,
Same.
Sure. Well, for an insatiable lawhound like me, it was really quite fun, I thought. There was a lot of unique little bits of news, like the Ent and Moss Giants actually collaborated in order to restore their home sort of villages. But unfortunately, over time, because they made their cities out of nature, it slowly deteriorated, and it was a very sad event. Not to mention it was quite emotional, really. The Easter Bunny had done his dad proud. Spoiler alert, by the way. It was really quite nice, wasn't it?
Whoa, now we're gonna have to like tag this whole thing and like put annotations. Please, if you don't want to hear spoilers regarding the 3.5-minute Easter quest, skip ahead now. Thank you.
All right, but
I thought it really had all the markings of a good RuneScape holiday event. It was quick, it had some nice rewards, it had some nice lore, and, you know, something for everybody. I got to unlock all the Easter items that I missed while I wasn't playing, so.
I quite enjoy the creepy mask that everybody wears when they see PR at raids now.
Alex was encouraging me to override, but we passed on that. So.
I was just so excited doing this mini quest. I had to space bar through all the lore because I had to get the head faster.
All right.
well, that's it. What about the movie, Jordan? What do you reckon? The documentary.
You know, it wasn't as cringy as I thought it was gonna be. It took them forever to get it out. They're like 8 months late on their projected time frame, but you know, I actually genuinely enjoyed it. We have confirmation that Zezima is a cat. That's pretty exciting. Also, those poor cows, man. Like, millions and millions and millions of dead cows.
All those hamburgers, though.
Yeah, what did they say? Something like 2.3 million hamburgers made every day just by people killing cows? It's horrible.
It's awesome.
I just thought about something. Are there cheeseburgers in RuneScape?
There are not.
All right.
But we do have bacon though.
Not yet. Yeah.
Like,
we
you
can
know,
get bacon with the
bringing
pig
home the
quest.
bacon quest. We need just a cow quest now.
Yeah, all the ingredients are there, Gunnar.
Right.
It's a really good avenue for a food update.
I was gonna say either that or we just crack the code. That's how you get Hazel memes.
All right, time to edit the video.
You make
Let's get
Yeah, I
started.
know.
burgers.
Oops.
No,
What
you
did
know
you
what
actually
though? I genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I've heard overwhelmingly positive support for the documentary, as well as the involvement of players and other third party, especially people's parents, the Gower's parents. It's very comforting to see people who have put as much of their lives into something that you have, and not only does it sort of validate that, but it shows the humble beginnings of the game.
You know, it was really nice seeing the passion that actually went into the game. Like they literally started from their mom's kitchen, and now they're here. Like it's ridiculous.
You could tell how proud their parents were of them as well. I think that it was really telling, and it was good how honest actually the Gowers were in it. Like Andrew, when he handed over power, he said openly, like in the documentary, he said, I thought I'd made a mistake. Like he honestly felt like he distanced himself far too much when he sold his controlling share. It was fascinating that they openly admitted that, I thought.
Yeah, and it's pretty telling that from the community and even from the people who made it, that people love this game, and people have spent the better part of their lives playing this game. It has created lifelong friendships, marriages. Like, there are new living beings because of RuneScape. Like, I mean,
No, this is a PG podcast, so please stop there.
Wait,
for the people,
how are babies made?
Well, the people that didn't watch it, there was actually a married couple that met doing a pyramid plunder, and they ended up getting married because of how they met in game. But
wasn't there something about like
Shane, you
him
should just come with this
protecting her from the mummy?
She protected him from a mummy.
That's right, and that was recently nerfed at least on old school.
Yeah, but you know what's funny though? Like Mod Archie, Chris Archie, he met his wife on RuneScape. Like,
the shared interest. Whenever you play RS, you're automatically starting closer to any person you talk to than if you were to just meet them out in the world, because you have a shared interest.
Well, anytime you meet someone doing something with them,
right,
as opposed to like
right
at a bar, like
right.
drink not an interest really.
Right,
Anyway.
but
it's a universal interest.
It's funny because like I log in every day. I hop into TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever, and I talk to these guys every single day for the better part of the last, 10 years. But it's crazy the kind of bonds and friendships you can make with people that you've never even met before.
Mm-hmm. And, well, I think that's what the documentary did a good job as well, besides the game itself, but the relationship between players in the game. And I feel like they actually focused a lot more on that than the history of the game, especially in the past like 6 or 7 years. They kind of skipped like a whole bunch of the game's history. But that's almost less important. All games go through growing periods and, trials and times when you don't think the game is going in the right direction and times when you really do. And I think we all have our favorite periods in RuneScape history, but we're all still here. So
anyone want to share what their favorite periods were while we're on that subject? I'm going to say 2010 to 2011 was probably my most enjoyable time.
I'd agree. Slaying with a rapier.
Yeah, like that was the best.
I probably enjoyed that the most, but I think a lot of it comes down to where you were in your real life when you were doing that and how it affected you as a person, how having somewhere to go all the time can really help somebody's psyche to the point that they feel welcome, they feel fulfilled. The game does a lot of good for people. As much as people say, like, oh, RuneScape's addicting, like you forego your other obligations to play. there's a lot of positive externalities that don't often get discussed. So I think the documentary did a good job.
On the controversies in the documentary, like Squeal of Fortune and EOC, how do you think they handled them, Alex?
I have to decline to answer that.
Really? Well, I thought the Squeal of Fortune, they actually handled it really well. Like, they came out and like explained every step, and they openly admitted
they
some
knew
of the,
they were going to get shit for it. Like,
yeah, and even Andrew comes out and says, and it was Ian as well, I think, said that he actually he left because of that sort of microtransactions, didn't he?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not what they wanted for the game, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think Mod MMG put it the best way it could possibly be put, was they weren't making enough revenue to keep the game alive, and without the microtransactions, there was no RuneScape. So,
Right, you have a choice between slightly pay to win, which it's really still not bad compared to most other games, or not having the game at all, and that's a pretty easy decision. And I think that they put it out on the line for the most part, that it wasn't an easy decision for them, but they knew the risks, and ultimately it was worth it. And hey, without microtransactions, without that deviation from the original plan, so to speak, Old School would never exist, because there wouldn't have been such a stark contrast between 2007 and 2014. So
yep.
To give you some kind of answer, though, for me personally, I came back to the game because of the Bonds update. I had cash already, but I didn't really feel like paying for membership. And then once I could get it with Bonds, I'm like, okay, I'll start playing again. And now I've been playing ever since.
Yeah.
Well, they explained that was their favorite update. Like, that's what they should have done since the very beginning. Like, in regards to like banning trade and wilderness, that they should have just put bonds in back in 2007.
Oh, bonds are genius.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's other games that have similar things, but I've never seen it work as well as in RuneScape.
It works great.
Yeah. They didn't probably handle the criticism of EOC as well, though, as I thought they would have. Like, everything else they handled really well, but it seemed like EOC, they didn't even talk about why it was hated so much.
They kind of just, I mean, they knew why, though. But,
Yeah,
but they kind of just didn't really want to talk about it. Like, they knew that people hated the evolution of combat.
I don't personally, think there's a reason.
I personally loved it.
I don't think there's a reason to rehash the release of EOC when EOC is so much different than it was upon release. Like, I understand that it's a historical documentary, but just talking about the fact that when it came out, it was, for a better word, broken. It was broken. Like, it shouldn't have been released as it was, and there was, quite a bit of uproar.
Not just broken, it ruined every single unique account build that made RuneScape unique, like Pures and Zerkers. They were all destroyed overnight.
I mean, if you're talking to me, that's a good thing.
I had a maxed out 1 defense Pure with 108 dungeoneering, and it was done. Now it is just an alt that I use for PVM.
Go on.
I was gonna say, like, you have to keep in mind if they can't really talk about the EOC release, because a lot of players still think EOC is the exact same broken product we got in 2012, and don't realize it's I personally really like it, but that's my opinion. But they did a lot of progress since November 2012, and it was very questionable.
Like most things, it gets better the more familiarity you develop with it. And even I'm still learning some things, and I still enjoy picking up new things, and I've gotten to like it a lot more.
Yeah, it's not as nuanced as some other games combat. However, it is much more involved than Old School, and there are things that you'll pick up, as you said. Like, every time you start doing a new boss, every time you watch somebody who's really good, you'll figure out something new.
And just to kind of, I haven't had time to sit down and watch the documentary yet, but I've seen it's brought out a pretty strong response from a lot of the community, and I think it's great anytime a game creates this much of a sense of community for the people, like you said, who can treat it as a refuge from their everyday life, can, develop friendships on it. So it's really nice to see that it was so well received, and I'm looking to watching it when I get some time.
Yeah, man. Without RuneScape, I wouldn't know any of you stupid bastards.
I was just gonna say, I'm just glad it came out as good as it did because with such a heavy delay on it, I would have been so disappointed if it was not up to the standards.
Oh yeah, I think it was the music was the reason for the delay, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think they said it was something about permissions from
third party. It was
Oh,
third party
okay.
permissions and interviews, and but hey,
the response
better
has been like
late.
universally positive.
Right.
So
Right.
that's good.
Yeah, better late than never. If it's late but good, it's all good. If it's late and bad, that's nuts.
Yeah, that goes for all RuneScape content. I'd rather have it come out, 6 months
Absolutely.
late and polished than on time and completely broken.
James Stone Dragons.
I was gonna say, speaking of that, there were some changes. No.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
All right.
general
so for
consensus on the documentary was good though.
It was worthwhile.
Fantastic.
It was certainly
Fantastic.
worthwhile. Yeah.
All right. So for today's updates, we had some changes to how the buff bar worked. Alex, you want to take us through those?
Yeah, I can. So the buff and debuffs have been separated into two different interface sections. So pretty much the buff can show 18 icons and the debuff one can show 12 icons, which is significantly more than we can currently see. You can currently see the exact number of your stat boost, whereas before, if you brewed, it would just say your stats were lowered. Now they'll say exactly how much lowered they are. And you can see cooldowns, like your Enhanced Excalibur, your Acto, your Crackling, your Blood Essence, etc., which is awesome. So what do you guys think? I really like this update.
10 out of 10,
thank you,
Machani.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was kind of buried, and you rarely see it on Reddit where there's like 5 or 6 posts saying the exact same thing. But when I got on when I was about to leave work today, it was like, this is the main update of the week. Thanks, Shawnee. Justice for Shawnee. Like, this should be on the front page. Like,
I thought in the last week in the lead up to this update that it was going to be the highlight, and then it ended up being the Easter event. But I think this definitely is the highlight. I was surprised.
It definitely has much of a more lasting impact on the game.
I was surprised to see it buried in the patch notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's huge.
I just think it tackles so many problems at once. Like, you've had Reddit posts where people like, hey, can you make the Enhanced Excalibur a cooldown? Can you make this a cooldown? Well, we'll just kick all of these into one big update. That's great.
Avatar buff.
Right.
A thank you from all of efficiency experts for the avatar buff icons, because that eliminates quite a few questions.
Yep,
so
definitely.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it doesn't only affect combat for sure.
Yeah, like you can even see your elves cooldown now. Like,
it's one of those quality of life updates that makes a huge difference to everything. It's really a great update.
It definitely gives some much needed transparency to some combat mechanics as well. Like, you can hover over some of these debuffs that you get at raids, or you can see what you're putting on, what debuffs you're putting on the enemy, and have a much better understanding of what's impacting your combat performance.
Yeah,
like
that's really helpful.
drenches.
It's really helpful for me and for I think a lot of people who might not be extremely experienced with certain PVM mechanics to actually see them be transparent and visual on your screen, so you know how many drench stacks you have, you know what you need to do and what the effect you currently have to address it.
Mm-hmm. And up until today, we didn't know the stat hammer debuff was only 1 minute long. This buff bar gave us the ability to figure out that it's only 1 minute when JMods told us it was 2.
All the debuffs, right? The Draco,
all of them are 1 minute.
The teenage Draco.
The mini Draco, the Quaco.
Yep. So that's pretty nice.
Well, it's also a
And-
little bit more expensive now, but
Yeah, if you want it. But I think, for the most part, you're only going to hit it with the Statius Warhammer.
We also learned that the Dragon Hatchet applied its debuff before ever landing, and apparently there was a hot fix around that right away. So this buff bar gives us the tools to learn a lot more about PVM than we previously knew.
well, what's funny about that I think, beyond snitches, but is the fact that this is something that's actually been in the game for a while, and people could have been using it, but we don't even know that. Like, they only found out about it today.
Well,
Yeah, it's interesting.
to kind of like answer that though, the minus defense icon doesn't appear if you did the method of activating it but not attacking the monster. So I don't think we would have any way of knowing it was debuffed unless you randomly had inspiration to try it out and test your accuracy data. So I very strongly doubt that would have been used before this. But I don't know, maybe.
I guess you might try anything to set records. All right, well, if that's it for the buff bar, I'd like to talk about a couple of the other updates from today. So, first of all, we had the NXT client was updated from version 2.2.3 to version 2.2.4 on all operating systems. In this update, we get a new loading screen, which features the new Jagex logo. It's a bit bigger. We get a nice backdrop. And you can also control settings for the client there. And then a number of bugs and crashes were also fixed. You can see the full list in today's patch notes. But the highlight is that the on-disk cache, which stores game data, is now being compressed. So instead of taking up about 12 gigabytes of disk space, it should only take up 3 to 4 gigabytes. Now, with this update, Jagex recommended that you leave the client open at the login screen for like a half hour to allow the cache to be compressed. If you didn't do this, you probably experienced a lot of lag and rendering issues while that was happening. But
Yeah,
most of that
I wasn't able to hop worlds. It didn't work for me. I had to just let it sit there.
Yeah, I was playing and it made the first like hour or so very painful. But beyond that, I think less crashes is good. Except what made this update maybe less successful than the buff bar is that the Mac OS X version of the client, players reported a number of issues with it, including a lot of crashes, and there's a honking or beeping noise.
Every time I click fucking backspace, it just honks on me. Just honk, honk, honk. Drives me up the fucking wall. I have to go back to the old one.
So yeah, every time you hit the backspace button or any of the arrow keys, there's that. Like, I think it's from the Easter event, but Jagex,
Yeah, it's a joke.
Jagex said on Reddit that they're aiming to fix all this stuff probably by next week at the latest. So
Enjoy your
hang
memes.
tight. Hang tight, all you Mac users out there. I can't speak to your pain, but hopefully it'll be ended soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems alright. I'd like to use it, but I just can't. How is it?
PC Master Race is all I can say.
Yeah, is that any good? Yeah,
It's pretty
no
much the
Yeah,
different.
same.
PCs are pretty good. Yeah.
Unless you are having storage issues, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference for you. But hopefully it'll be a little more stable. NXT, despite its age, we're like, I think well over a year since NXT release, it's still fairly unstable. Like, we still have a lot of crashes, a lot of like weird bugs, and I hope Jagex continues working on them.
Me and Andrew have been playing a lot of mini games recently, and there's a lot of
Yes.
NXT issues.
Thank you for bringing that up. Conquest and Mobilizing Armies both use a weird like game board and weird camera angles and controls. They have all these custom controls. This code is probably really old. Maybe nobody at Jagex is familiar with the code base anymore, and is willing to fix it. But
It's almost impossible to play.
those games, you cannot play them on NXT. I had to go back to Java, and Java sucks for me because if you play on like high resolution, then everything in Java is tiny. It doesn't scale, so I can't like even read my text. But it works at Conquest and Mobilizing Armies. So it would be really great if a JMod could take a look at those mini games and get them fixed. It comes up every time they go on Spotlight. So
And Castle Wars too. I think people are having crashing issues.
yeah. So that for me is my number one request for NXT. As for the rest of the patch notes, Gemstone Dragons received a few more patches today, including the armor set effect now works starting with 3 pieces equipped, and it increases up to the full 5 pieces. So it makes it viable with only 3. I still think the armor's not going to be really useful for people, but maybe if you guys find a good use for it, let us know in the comments.
I think it's only expensive because it's rare, and that's it.
Because it's new.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there will be.
There's a lot
lasting
of things that
demand.
are rare that aren't expensive, and this will likely be one of them eventually.
Unless there's a use case in game where like there's a certain monster where you should wear the armor.
Right, exactly, which some of us want content like that, where you have these uses for particular armors that are not universal. You're not just using your T90s everywhere, and some people don't want that. So Jagex said one of their, well, at least a particular JMod said that Water Fiends, back when they were mage-based, ranged, attacking, crush weak monsters, that they were one of their least favorite things in the game. But plenty of RuneScape players, including myself, enjoy that creative approach and more nuanced
Full
monster design.
Like Black D'hide and a Chaotic Maul.
Full Ganodermic? Come on. Ganodermic with Goliath gloves, just punching Water Fiends in the face.
Okay,
That's what it's all about.
All right.
Yeah.
With full
Goliath
inventory of
gloves were like a
summoning
weapon.
flasks. Yeah, full inventory of summoning flasks, Steel Titan doing half the damage, and you just defense debuffing them. That was a legit task. And they had a use. They were the best summoning XP in the game. So anyway, tangent over.
More tales of 2011 Slayer later.
Yeah, oh, the good old days.
It was good to see they listened and just updated it straight away. They made it better drops and actually easier to beat.
Yeah, I didn't even get through the changes. So their special attacks have received a cooldown now, and they only hit a 3x3 area instead of 5x5, which makes it probably a bit easier. And they doubled the combat experience from the dragons. So now a single Hydrix dragon gives about 4,500 XP in the style you're using, which at a rate of like a little over 100 per hour makes these 5 to 600k XP per hour in the style, which is pretty decent XP for a Slayer task. And then I mean they're still below average for Slayer XP, but as long as the armor pieces are high, they're going to be like moderate GP per hour for a Slayer task. They'll just have high variance like Dwogers. You know, if you get the RNG drop, you make a lot. If not, you're screwed. And they'll be decent combat XP now, so at least some people may start to do them.
They also changed the name of the bones.
Yes, we now have hardened and reinforced instead of adamant and rune dragon bones, just for consistency.
And these guys drop hardened bones, yes?
Yeah, that's the previously adamant dragon bone. And,
I think it is worth noting that when we talked about the Gemstone Dragons in the prior podcast, we said that the armor wouldn't be useful at all because it's not augmentable. But since you can use 3 of the set to get a set effect,
Right,
you can have
boot, helmet,
augmentable
gloves.
top and bot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, you can now, which for Slayer won't work because you still want a Slayer helm, but now maybe you'll bring that if you want the gem effects, the bolt
Which
effects.
I think still needs to go with some serious testing before anyone turns that into the new meta, but it has some...
And if it does become the new meta, then Gemstone Dragons might be one of the best tasks in the game.
So, to all the PVM nerds out there, test test out those bolt effects, and if they're really good, let us know.
Find the really niche area where you're using all hybrid gear off task, and it might be good there.
Gross.
Another item they snuck into the patch notes, but a really nice update, is the attuned crystal teleport seed. First of all, it's now purple, which is nice, and it can be equipped in the pocket slot now, which if you were using the Amload summoning method in Prif, this will increase your XP rate by about 4% just because you have an extra inventory space. So you can now do 25 pouches per invent instead of 24. But I think the release of the attuned seed actually made this method a lot more viable, especially for players who don't have a really high TVC, because you can get more XP during Voice of Saren.
I want to explain what TVC is real quick for people who don't know.
Sure, TVC stands for time value correlation, and it's basically a number that represents how much your time is worth. So when I say 30 mil, that means if you were doing something else, your opportunity cost is like 30 mil an hour, which would probably mean you're very good at Telos, or you may have, for some players, their TVC may be unlimited because they run lots of alts, so they don't need to do any money making on their main account. For other players, it may be pretty low, like 1, 2, 3 mil, if they don't have access to a lot of good methods. So unless you are one of those very high TVC players, the Amload summoning method is now pretty worthwhile, in my opinion, especially if you're doing a pouch that's expensive, because you save 20% of the cost because you get 20% more XP. And it's not that much slower than Taverly. We are going to try to follow that up with a guide at some point in the near future, so keep an eye out for that.
It's also really handy for Iron Men. You don't have to rely on doing the Tavari method, and you get the benefit of like 15-second or less runs with your pouches. So definitely some potential here.
Yeah, definitely. A couple other quick patch notes. The size of the main action bar has been decreased to match the sizes of secondary action bars, which actually screwed up my my like interface preset, but
you know,
maybe for others that fixed theirs.
They should have just increased the size of the other one. Like,
yeah,
No.
I think I looked at it once and it was because like the settings, the gear icon or something.
right. But
They were out to the side. Yep.
I understand that they, minimized it and they made it smaller. So now that it works with the extra action bars, cool, totally. But while helpful, it also messed up some interfaces. So now people have to do adjusting.
Right.
But at
I think
least
that's
it's even
fine.
now.
By the time you fix your interface in a couple weeks, you'll forget it ever happened.
Yeah.
At least I don't have
And
dead gaps anymore. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want your interface minimized with as much functionality, so I
You do
wouldn't want it
to be
bigger. Yeah.
smaller rather than
Right.
bigger.
There's still a lot of wasted space. However, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. It didn't inconvenience me in any way, but they're taking player feedback, I think, to some extent, and definitely one of the common complaints is interface is not working exactly correctly. And I don't know. I think lately they've been doing a better job at taking maybe less than positive player input and turning it into constructive quality of life updates.
I would like to see some sort of interface overhaul when we finally get the bank update. I think that would be a nice addition.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of scaling that needs to be done with the current interface. Things like the 8-button ribbon cannot be like scaled, and making it smaller or bigger would be a nice way to adjust that.
Definitely. You had one more update for today?
By far my least favorite update of the entire week in the patch notes. This was actually one of the more requested ones on a patch note thread on Reddit a month or two ago. But the total level requirement for World 48 has been increased from 2,400 to 2,600. So this, I'm upset because it locks out my alt, which had just gotten 2,400 total like a couple weeks ago, for a few
Well,
more weeks. But
I'm very glad. Just means less bloody plebs throwing
They're
things
all
down at
on your
use.
world.
I
Yeah.
don't.
All
I
the
don't know.
people
If,
that are putting down Vexes were all comped anyway.
yeah, I don't know if World 48 can really be rescued, so to speak. And I think that the number of players with 2,600 plus total now is still way higher than the number of players who had 2,400 when the world was released.
Oh, totally.
Definitely.
So it's never going to be as exclusive as it was then, unless they make like a 27-15 world or something.
Or a comp world.
Right.
We don't need that many people with such high egos in one world.
All right. So our last bit of content we want to cover is not an in-game update. However, it is the always popular Reddit thread of the week. So our Reddit thread of the week for this podcast comes from Skeletor121, and it's called "Just Completed an Earn Keys Survey." And I'll give you a TLDR. He's a little upset about how difficult it is to get keys out of the earn keys functionality on RuneScape. So not Peanut Lab's biggest fan. So I think I would want to bring this to the table and discuss maybe how you guys have interfaced with these surveys in the past. However, probably the funniest thing that I read in this thread was a quote from Red Poison. He says, "The trick is, say you're a smoking, looking to quit, single, working, bilingual, female, Latina mother of two that pays all the bills and has all the money." So words to live by. And
Well, that helps you gets the survey right, doesn't it?
Right, exactly. So at least in my experience, that is true. I answer 100% truthfully, except I always make myself of Hispanic descent, and that seems to boost my success rate quite a bit. So have you guys done any of these surveys in the past? Maybe there's a promotion that you didn't feel like spending money on, but you could do a couple surveys real quick while AFKing Arc or something?
So I used to do the old Supersonic promotions, which were watch videos and download apps and all that sort of stuff. And I actually earned over 2,000 keys watching videos. It was only available, I think, to overseas Australians, the videos in particular. And once that closed down, I moved on to the surveys, and none of them worked for me. I tried like 10 separate surveys, like on probably like 3 or 4 separate occasions, and none of them worked. I even did ones that were asked by the Australian government about smoking and drinking, and they wouldn't even pay me out. It was out of control. Like, it was just a complete scam.
Yeah, at least when I've done it in the past, I've probably had about a 20% success rate. A lot of the times you open it up, though, and you're not exactly sure what it wants, to hear from you. So I always tend to answer truthfully, and I'll get disqualified for my area code or disqualified for my socioeconomic standing or ethnicity or whatever, or age. So a lot of the things are based on your age, your interests. If you've tried these 9 brands of peanut butter, you can select 7 of them, but they were only looking for the other 2. So, I mean, it's a very convoluted process, and you definitely don't get as many keys as you might hope, but it's still an option there for people who aren't willing to spend money. It is a little sketchy, though, when you can do like 5 or 6 of them and spend 25 minutes total and not get a single key. Definitely happens.
I didn't do it so much for keys, but I did do it for rune coins at one point, like 2 years ago. I wanted a legendary familiar on my Iron Man, and I didn't want to pay for it, and I just AFK'd on my main account and did, I believe it was just surveys, and I ended up getting about 1,800 keys. I believe one of them was also something like donate $5 to the World Wildlife Foundation and earn like 1,000 rune coins. And I was like, sure, I'll support the tigers. Like, yeah.
It worked?
Yeah, oh yeah, it did actually.
Interesting.
and that one worked. But my success rate with other things on there has been like 15% success rate, and the rest is just absolute failure.
It's a bloody disgrace.
I did one offer where it was like sign up for a GameFly free trial for X amount of keys. And I did that, and it wasn't even a free trial. I got charged immediately, and then GameFly told me they don't offer a free trial.
Wrecked.
You know, and
Did
they
you get
wouldn't
your case?
refund me. What?
Did you
Did
get
you
the
get? I
key?
didn't get the keys. Oh, that's all right then.
I didn't get the key. That was straight up
Oh, they did?
outrageous.
Oh. So you were scammed in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry you were abused.
I think, long story
Anyways,
short, the system is not too good.
It's not optimal. Yeah.
I've never done these surveys for keys, but I think the bottom line with these things is if you're going to offer someone compensation in exchange for like filling out a survey or watching a video or whatever, you need to be transparent upfront about what that compensation is going to be and what's required. And you can't have people being disappointed.
Right. You click on one that says 23 keys for a 10-minute survey. That's not what it is. It's 23 keys. You are given the opportunity to attempt to qualify for one of several surveys that may or may not take 23 minutes. So one of the things is you click on it and it almost always says, oops, you didn't qualify for this survey. Would you like to try another? And it will be totally different than the first one. And they're all designed with, different interfaces. Some use like a Survey Monkey, some are Likert scales, some are videos. It's very diverse. And if Jagex wanted our data like that, our preferences, I'm sure many players would be glad to tell them what flavor of Fruit by the Foot they like if they could get, the woodcutting elite outfit for
That
it.
answer is very berry.
Yeah, it's obvious.
I agree.
It's obviously not them. From my vague understanding of the industry, it's, there are obviously a number of third parties involved.
Yeah.
So I think what Jagex needs to do is basically evaluate this program. Like, first of all, see how much revenue it's really generating and who they're partnering with and what their business practices are, and if they're really, up to the same standards Jagex holds themselves to. And if not, then they should either terminate this program or reform it in some way by, not partnering with these sketchy survey providers.
Like, if I get 20 minutes into a survey and I had the opportunity of earning like 20 keys, for an example, and you say, sorry, you didn't qualify, you need to give me some sort of mild compensation because I just spent 20 minutes and got rejected.
Right. Even if you get one key for every survey you're disqualified from after filling out the qualifying questionnaire, that's fine.
Right.
That's a good suggestion.
That'd be a better model too.
Yeah, because I'm sure plenty of people would do that.
I think it's pretty immoral. I really don't like how, unless there's a promise that our data we give them is deleted if we're not rewarded, that we can just give it away without any compensation. That's still data they could use.
Oh yeah, they're
for
still
their
taking your
research.
data.
Yeah.
Well, if it's accurate in the first place.
I live where the president lives, by the way.
Me too.
Well, throughout the surveys, they've actually got questions that try and find out if you're a bot or not. And they'll say, like, it'll ask a question and it'll say, answer yes to this question. Because if you don't answer yes, it'll immediately disqualify you. So they do have things throughout the survey to disqualify you as well. So at a certain point, they are disqualifying you just for gathering information.
Okay, it appears we've exhausted discussion with regards to that topic. So I'd like to turn it over to a special segment that is going to be introduced by ours truly, Runescape. Shane, please take it away.
It's Alex. Well, it's get to know the boys. And Alex has a special question for us. It's for the viewers at home. They want to know about us. I've been getting PMs off the charts. Shane, tell us about yourself. What we need to know. The fans want more from everyone. So, Alex, what question were we asked today by a special fan?
I want to know about the boys. Is what we do while we AFK RuneScape.
Well,
So
do you want to go
Shane, would you
first,
like to
Alex?
start?
Okay, yeah, I'll go first. Well, I used to play actually a fair bit of League of Legends. So back in like 2013, AFK Ivies, and just play mid LeBlanc. It's good fun. But at this point, I'm because I'm in uni now. I do a lot of homework whenever I AFK. So a lot of sort of accounting homework, good fun. Other than that, a lot of movies and TV shows.
And walks.
Yeah, that's another little special thing. I'm obviously very concerned about getting deep vein thrombosis. So I actually get up and have a little walk around when I'm AFK, and like even between using ults at AFK Abyss, I'll get up, have a little jog around my house, and then run back to the keyboard as fast as I can.
Some of you at home might think that's a joke, but he's being completely serious.
Yeah. Frequently when Shane tells us he's going for a walk, it took us a while to realize, but these walks really just consist of a lap around his house and then back. We thought he was like going outside, walk around the block or something, but no.
Right, like Defy goes and catches Pokemon. That is not the case here.
Yeah.
I've never told them before, but I actually do the exact same thing.
It's good,
Shane.
isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
listen to music and walk around my house, and then I have a little internal clock of the AFK timer, and I make a dash back to the computer, click the waterfall, and then all my ults, and I'm like, all right, good to go.
Back to the walk. Keeps you awake. It's good stuff. Everyone try it out.
It's really good because most songs are about 3 to 4 minutes, which is so after your song's over, you wouldn't be logged out yet. You can click everything and then start the next song. And you can have your team viewer on your phone just in case the songs go long.
So we know what Alex does as well. What about you, Andrew? What do you do?
Well, I think I'm a little boring, but what I basically do is if I'm AFKing something in RS, I'm probably doing one of 3 things. I'm either A, writing code, B, I am watching something, which in that case is probably Netflix, and C, I may be enjoying a sporting event, and that would be either a basketball game, because I love to bandwagon the Warriors, or sometimes I listen to baseball games, just the radio though, because those
watch the footy?
are the best. The footy, no, I do not watch soccer. But
how dare you call it soccer? It is football.
It is soccer.
Footy's Aussie rules.
He's talking I was gonna say he's talking Australian rules.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know what that is. So
we're American. We didn't even know that was the thing.
That'll be a separate podcast. But yeah, unlike these guys, I'm not active. I actually want deep vein thrombosis, so you're not with my hair while I AFK.
Right.
How about you, Gunnar?
So I'm kind of similar. Usually I am either working on my movie spreadsheet, or if I am paying so little attention to RS that I have extra attention to spare, I'm usually going to just load up another RuneScape until I don't have any attention left.
What's the movie spreadsheet?
So basically I've been working on this spreadsheet for about 6 months now. And it's my top 1,000 movies, top 100 TV shows, top 100 books, top right now like 87 websites. Basically, it's just number one. No, but so I just like cataloging. I just like cataloging movies especially. Because I've probably watched about 15,000 movies, almost exclusively since I started playing RuneScape. So that's something I tend to do, is just keep a movie on, focus on that while playing on my other monitors. So see, that's boring too, but I listen to sporting events. I do that.
15,000 movies is a movie a day for 41 years, Gunnar.
I was watching. Well, so my Netflix combined with Rainier Tamayo compared with like Prime Wire and stuff, I was at 10,800 logged from 2004 till 2015. So I averaged almost 8 or 9 a day for a couple of years. So
Christ.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
That's
to
fucked.
that.
He wasn't 5 bill XP for nothing.
Okay.
yeah.
Last Jordan.
Jordan, yeah.
So generally speaking, I am either petting my cat or
Is that a
taking
euphemism, or-
pictures of my cat.
Yeah.
Or-
I was gonna, the euphemism
You were
continues.
You were
Yeah.
fondling your pussy.
Totally. She's great. Now, in all seriousness, though, generally speaking, I'm pretty much doing the same thing these guys are doing. I spend a fair bit of time watching TV shows, movies, anime, reading
true.
books, manga. I like hockey. Go Kings. Play.
And of course, editing our podcast.
Yeah,
Right.
that takes a lot of time.
A big
So,
thank you
right.
to Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan, for editing these prime pieces of modern cinema.
You're very welcome. I expect
You're a superstar,
extreme
mate.
compensation. And by that I mean like a
It'll be in
minute
our-
amount of appreciation, and then we're good.
Right. Okay. That's exactly what we'll give you.
Awesome.
And enough of that.
Yeah. Don't make me all like emotional here. No, you know, a lot of my time, to be honest, like I'm usually on some sort of voice service, hanging out with these guys. If I'm not doing that, I'll take a break and be watching or doing something else. Like Gunnar said, to be honest, even if I am watching a movie, I'm still playing on 2 to 3 accounts though. Like
Right.
well,
Well,
yeah.
sometimes, I mean, we all have, separate interests that we do in time and again. Like, I'll play Pokemon Showdown sometimes.
Pokemon
I'll
Showdown
play
is the bomb.
Overwatch. I'll play, a couple things. I'm actually excited. I'm gonna invest in a Raspberry Pi and
Oh, I have one.
and emulate a lot of SNES and NES and old games like that, and possibly stream those as well. So I really enjoy streaming other games besides RS, but you can only be good at one thing, so it's rough.
I use my phone as a giant emulator. Like, thankfully, Android phones are pretty compatible with that kind of thing. So, you can play like any Game Boy Advance, NES games, all of those things just from your Android phone.
Gunnar, what was
Yep.
it you were supposed to be good at? I'm drawing a blank.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
top
not
fan
leading a
there.
clan.
Yeah,
I think it's Overwatch. It's really good.
yeah.
The podcast
My
getting too real.
my May skills are off the charts. So, anyway, I think that actually brings this podcast to a close. We'll take this making fun of Gunnar offline. So
You guys-
thank you, everybody. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys very much for listening. It's been a pleasure doing these podcasts in the past month or so. We look forward to definitely doing at least one a week with regards to the update as well as state of the game discussions. Please feel free to leave comments either on this video or pop by the Discord. We want diverse opinions. It can be somewhat of an echo chamber sometimes, talking to people with similar interests of similar RuneScape experience. One of my favorite things to do is to hear from newer players about what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. If Ashdale turned them off, or we want to know, why do you like X in RS or why do you dislike X in RS? So yeah, please let us know, and we look forward to hearing from you with regards to this and future discussions. So thank you guys very much. Happy scaping.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
All right,
Dude,
perfect.
that was like at least an hour and 15 minutes.
Was it really? Wow.
No, it's 56 minutes.
That's fine. That's perfect.
That's good. Edited.
It was a big update, too.
Three.
Gotta cut out. If you cut out the silences between each segment,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
only 48 minutes. So.
It's only 12 minutes.
There were a couple of times where it's just like, Alex.
Well, it's not that bad.
Not just them. It was like, yeah, I agree. The thing right in between, like for transitions, our transitions from one segment to another were
Well, we didn't know who